We're very excited to be joined by UCLA alumnus, former UCLA safety, NFL legend James Washington, who's in charge of Bruins for Life, the NIL collective supporting UCLA football. James, how are you doing?
I am doing wonderful. How you guys doing today?
We're doing
We're
great.
just doing splendid.
Doing absolutely fantastic. We're excited to talk to you, though, about Bruins for Life. So for those background-wise, can you give us maybe just kind of the brief cliff notes of why was Bruins for Life created? What's your goal with the organization, and how do you see it working going forward?
Well, we all know why it was created, in a sense, but I will give you the tidbit of the short version. Um, we needed to have a collective that focused on football to give us a chance to compete. Um, John Manick, a very strong supporter of UCLA, and I were sitting at dinner one time, and we, just like most Bruins, was sitting around, did not want to do this. This is not one of the things that I was checking off on my, my to-do box. And John and I have been around doing things with the program for many years, go all the way back to Bob Toledo and the things and the projects and the TV shows that we brought to UCLA that people don't know what's happening behind the scenes. And he said, I want to create a collective. And I was like, do you know what we're about to jump into, the endeavor that it will take? And because the Men of Westwood and the Champion of Westwood was already in existence, I think because of the past coaching, and I'm not here to batter anyone to say bad or good, but Chip just didn't get the job done with the collective. He did not work with it. He did not build a relationship with it. So therefore, we were behind the eight ball. And then Deshaun Foster steps in, and he has his hands full with a lot of other things, not necessarily hoping that this portal thing would help him get better, because Chip had done a great job, I thought, putting and grabbing people out of the portal before the collective was created. He did a great job. I will not take that away. Some great athletes have come to UCLA and went on to the pros through that opportunity. But now you throw the collective in, that's a whole nother beast. It's not pay to play, but the fact is that you got to have money, and you have to have resources. You have to have sponsorships. You have to have a community that gets behind you to say, hey, we're all in. And I think Ken did a wonderful job, and the Men of Westwood and the Champion of Westwood during the time, they did their best. But I thought we needed to have something that was generated by a former player, a person that understands the need of development, understand the cultivating and the relationships, because I do have a history. I was a development officer at UCLA for 6 years. And I understand both sides of those tables. So I sat down, created it. John and I is co-founders of Bruins for Life. And we had to go, through all the protocol. It wasn't just handed to us because James Washington showed up. We had to go through compliance. We had to get it all the box checked. But I had some things that I wanted as well if it was going to be done correctly. And UCLA and John and I finally sat down, and we came up with an agreement with Ken. And here 3 months, 3 months and a half now.
Yep.
3 months and a half now. We have a collective that can actually help football. It's doing a wonderful job. You guys will see in the next few days that we are making impact. We're able to get players here and do some wonderful things. And unfortunately, the fire kind of pushed some things back today. Everything had to shut down because it was too close to Westwood.
Well, that's I mean, a lot there. I guess for the for the fans out there, obviously they want to know nuts and bolts and all kinds of numbers and stuff. And I know that's probably not.
They always want to go behind the curtain.
Yeah, but
we can go behind the curtain to a certain point.
Sure.
That's what I'm here for. I mean, one thing that I'm going to be is extremely transparent. Not necessarily giving you details on numbers. That won't happen until you see how much we've spent, because you'll know eventually it'll be transparent. But put it this way, we are in a better position than we were a year ago. We are in a greater position than we were 2 years ago. And that's the reason why you see so much activity going on across the board with the portal youngsters, with the retention. I wish I would have started it probably 6 months ago, because I would have probably been ahead of the game and probably would have gave Coach Foster a better toolbox to work with. So I'm gonna take that hit, as I always do. I'm that kind of teammate, and I'm only doing this to make the Bruins better.
So what I think what a lot of people would be interested in, James, is exactly like what your role is. What are you doing? Are you interacting with donors? Are you creating the deals and the contracts? What are you doing?
Bruins for Life is responsible for all the above. We will be working with when we will be working with contracts. I put together my team, Bruins for Life. We actually put together the contracts, and we offer those contracts to the athletes. But everything is a team, and understand this, people. Everything is a team. There's nothing that I do that UCLA doesn't know about. You know, they're very aware and very informed of everything, all things that run through me. UCLA is aware. The athletic department is aware, and it goes all the way up to the top. They are aware. Do they have input? Not so much. Just like I don't have input and understanding from the portal, from this position, NIL, we don't dictate who the coach choose. We don't dictate the athletes that they bring in. We are the community service arm and the provider of opportunities for the kids to come and do great things at UCLA, play football, and impact the community.
So are you doing a lot of fundraising personally? Are you meeting with a lot of donors?
I do all fundraising.
So do you golf, James?
Do I golf? Matter of fact, that is 2000. I don't have a lot of things on my bucket list to get done. I've had 9 operations on my knee and my shoulder from past football history, which had kind of limited me on the golf course. But 2025, you, Dave, and I are going to end up on the golf course at some point.
So Dave and I will just be handing you the beer from.
I will caddy. I'll caddy.
Come on, you can't. As much smack that you guys talk. But we can be those kind of golfers. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing like having buddy golfers. Like none of us can golf. We can actually golf, but we can go out and have a great time.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in, I guess. How about pickleball? Let's do that. Let's play pickleball instead of golfing.
Let's do it that way, because like I cannot golf, but I can beat you two. So that while we take chips, and then whoever really loses between the 3 worst golfers, you just pick up the tab that day.
I love it.
Such a deal.
Perfect. So when you're, I think a lot of people like the logistics of this stuff. So obviously football is targeting the players they want to target in the portal.
Yes.
Where do you come in the process? How does that part work? Because I'm sure getting a number from these players as to how much are they asking for and all that kind of stuff has to come in at some point in the process. Does
Yes.
it come in when you come in, or does it come in with football and then they transfer it over to you?
What happens is that we give them a budget,
Mm-hmm.
and then they are able to build their roster off that budget. The general manager, um, at that point in time, he goes through his evaluation. He goes through his evaluation with the scout, and I guess they go through their evaluation with the meeting room, from all the way from the top, and then they actually give the numbers based off the budget that we work with.
So what you're saying is you give them the budget and then they are breaking down the worth of a potential transfer, how much he's worth.
Yes, well, that is done. That's what the GM is
Yeah.
for. So you have to, guys, and it's totally simple. You have to look at this as a professional team. You can no longer look at this as a amateur sport. Not necessarily meaning, I'm saying how they do business, because there is negotiations, there's agents, there's um, people, advisors that play a role in this piece, and it is a headache. It's not something that you think, when you step into this and you're like, oh, this is this. You have a piece of paper and you write this on the piece of paper, and everybody, it's negotiations, just like you would do if you're getting an NFL deal. And how we as we try to build this, we try to put borders around it. But we want to do it our way. We want to create the Bruins way, not necessarily because there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, well, this is how they do the NIL over there. Well, that's not how we're going to do it. Now that we're bringing borders to how we handle contracts, we bring in borders to, we're not saying we're creating our own salary cap, but you only have so much to work with. So you got to make sure you got all the pieces working hand in hand together. And we do work very close to the GM, and we work very close, to compliance and making sure that we are in compliance with everything that we do. And we're making sure that we're doing everything that puts UCLA and the brand of UCLA and UCLA football in a great light.
How much is this still about NIL, and how much is rev share involved now in recruiting? Let's say these transfers out of the portal.
Well, we will be involved with rev share once it closes out. That is in September, I think. That will be part of the revenue share, and that's how we would actually work together. And we have been doing a wonderful job, and I want to take my hat off all the way from the top, from the athletic director Martin Jarman to Aaron, who has made this extremely easy. Stephanie,
Aaron Adkins.
yeah, Aaron Atkins, who have made it extremely easy and transparent, and Stephanie, who have taken over for development. We all work hand in hand together, trying to help get football back on track.
With the way the market obviously is just changing and kind of constantly expanding in terms of the numbers being talked about with guys, what they're asking for. How often have you run into a situation where football's got a guy and they've got a number, and then they come to you and suddenly that guy's asking for twice as much?
So this is how they don't come to me. So the point is that the athlete, about time it gets to me, it's already locked, sealed, and delivered. It's pretty much, once I have to just say, this is what you have to work with at this point, and these are the numbers you have an opportunity to work with. And if you can look through the past few weeks, obviously they have more to work with, because you see we're having opportunities to grab a couple players. We, excited about having a quarterback, somebody that understands the system of the coordinator that we just got. So So that was the biggest piece.
Mm-hmm.
How do we find a quarterback? And then everything else falls in line after that. Quarterback, lineman, on both sides of the ball.
How crazy was the quarterback recruiting? I mean, I know probably going into the portal window, you're laughing.
It is, because if you could have young people, you have all the talent in the world that wants to come. I know some young people that would have probably, if we would have had Bruins for Life, that, like I say, started 6 months earlier, we probably would have gotten different young athletes to come here. Because me personally, I just know a lot of people that I know who wants to be Bruins, who wanted to be Bruins. And eventually they will come back and be Bruins. It just have to be comfortable in the situation. I mean, I'm going to tell you, if you look at what UCLA has to offer, why wouldn't you want to come to UCLA? If you're looking at what UCLA, the university and the environment, and when you walk away with an education from UCLA, it changes you for life. Look at me. I'm a kid from Watts. I went from Watts to Westwood to the White House after I won my 2 Super Bowls. But it happened because I came to UCLA.
It might have been just because you were really talented, James. It could have been it.
But you know what? It's all about the guidance. The fact is before I stepped into the league, I had a degree. Before I stepped into the league when I was 22 years old, I was graduated from UCLA, so I did not have to come back to go to school. And then when I got done playing in the NFL, I went to get a master's degree because I had learned the true value of what education has done for me. The positive thing about that is I've always tell people who know me and people who don't know me is that, yes, the Super Bowl rings have gotten me to the door. But my education, the quality education, has kept me in the room for many years.
So let's not talk numbers, because I know you shouldn't, and we just shouldn't. But I know you said you're in a better place now than you were a year ago. Let's just say ideally what you would like.
I would like 20
What would
million.
you like to say to UCLA fans to try to get you there?
If UCLA can help me raise $20 million, we have no problem.
There you go.
If UCLA can help me,
20 million.
I'm talking just from the collective. We're not talking revenue share. If the community of UCLA, no, really, if we could raise, I want to truly say, from $6 to $10 million from the collective component, I think that gives us a fighting chance. That's just scratching the surface, you know. And what I don't want to do is make it a donor fatigue piece. That's why you have to build a collective that has the right sponsorships, the right teammates, the right relationships. You know, JMI is sitting there, a strong partner with Bruins for Life and UCLA, and it has to be everything that works here. It has to be a partnership, a collaboration, and great teammanship if we want to be successful.
How important is it for you and for Deshaun to really dive into donor engagement, and how much time is spent on that?
I think it is. I think you do a lot of relationship building. We do a lot of cultivating. We're going to have community service things going on throughout Los Angeles. The biggest piece that when I jumped into this, and people who know me know I am about impacting people and changing lives. So I made it a point, and Deshaun has agreed that we're going to go into the community. But the donor relationship things, those are the things that just happen regardless. If we had an NIL, if we had just normal relationships, we would still be having donor relationships and donor events that would support football. So even if it wasn't an NIL, we
Sure.
would still do those things and cultivate and build relationships with the donors and sponsors anyway.
Let me ask you this, just speculating. Let's say Deshaun just won 10 games next year. What do you think that would do for NIL? What kind of support?
I think the energy, I think donors are donors. And I have to say this, and I want to thank all the donors that have supported us thus far. And I also want to thank the donors who have not supported us. And I'm going to give you an open arm of welcome, because I know shortly here you will be supporting us. I think that we are in a place of promise. And I think Deshaun has done a wonderful job coming in on a short notice and understanding the transition and what he was really against. People can say what they want about this young man and this young coach, but what I will say is I've known him for a very long time, and media can kind of read it how they want to read it. But when you sat down in a room, there's no better person with X's and O's. There's no better person that can motivate you and get the best out of you. And you can see it on the field. With the talent that he was working with, you can see them get better. And that's working with not as much as others. And you watch them get better. And you go one or two plays in certain games, it's a whole different season. And so that is promising to me. That is promising to the Bruin family out there. That is promising to the Big Ten that we're coming.
I got a question about, I'm sure you're very familiar with the fair market value issue with NIL, that the NCAA is going to establish with Deloitte, a committee. It's going to have to go through this committee to determine whether NIL deals are appropriate fair market value. How do you see that working? How do you see you interacting with that? Do you think it will be effective? Will it be feckless? I mean, what do you think will come of this whole fair market value thing?
I say the NCAA had dropped the ball, and now you want to get back in the game because they see that they allowed this to get out of hand. I think that it has to be not necessarily, I don't know if you have a union, but if it continues to go this direction, you're going to have to break this off, because it's almost like it went from amateur sport to semi-pro. And when you have the NCAA now, and they could have done this, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and just put some borders on it, to try to jump in this now, I hope they can put a committee together. I hope that they can put a team together and bring some borders to this. I think that it's going to be about a year or two away, but eventually it'll all kind of pan out and get back to as normal as we can call normalcy. I don't think it would ever be like it was when James Washington played.
I was going to say, what is normal, James? What do you? I don't know.
I think what you have is you have a committee. I think that you have a union. I think that once all those things, and it will happen, it's just not happening now. So there's some kids that are benefiting from it. There's people who are walking away with six degrees because they've been in school since I graduated. So it eventually will work itself out, because college football is the breeder and the birthplace to the biggest game on the planet, and that's called the NFL. So they're not going to mess that up. They just got to figure out how to do it better. And I think the NCAA, and this is like you say, these are people who have bigger paychecks and bigger brains than I have. They have to get together in a room and figure out how to put some borders on it. But it's not going to happen no time soon.
I want to ask, just because I mean we've got many thousands of subscribers listening and watching this. What's the call to action for maybe the smaller dollar donors, or it obviously money is a big priority, but is there anything else people can be providing? Is there anything else people can be doing? Can they be contacting you?
There's so many opportunities to get involved. And I always say this: $1, if we get 1,000 people to give $1, that's $1,000 that goes to the pot. We get 1,000 people, you know what I'm saying? We get 1,000 people to give $1,000. That's $1 million that goes to the pot. So my point is, every dollar counts. Your support. My point is opportunities and introductions to people and businesses. We have to get businesses involved. We have to get corporations involved with UCLA football. If you look at a lot of these NILs across the country, it's not donor generated only. It's corporations that are involved. We're in Los Angeles. We're UCLA. We're the biggest brand, not only in the country, we're one of the biggest brands in the world. So why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? Why wouldn't you want to be a part of UCLA football? We have great history. We have great history. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of this? And it starts $1 or $1 million. All those dollars are the same to me. If someone donated $1, they get the same thank you as a person who gave me $1 million.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think
that was a good way to end this.
That's a great way to end it. All right. Well, thanks so much for your time, James. Really appreciate it. Again, James Washington, Bruins for Life. We'll drop some links in the story page for this so you know where to go. But thank you so much for your time, James. Really appreciate it.
And I want to say, you guys, you have access to me, and I know I don't care about the history. I don't care about the past. Dave and Trace, it's how we build relationships moving forward. And I want to be your teammate, and I'm hoping you guys want to be mine.
Absolutely.
Completely appreciate that. Thanks, James.
Thank you.
Too.
All right.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, man.